Hi everyone, in this video we will be talking about the system design interview template. The outline of the template is as follows. We'll start with gathering requirements, the functional requirement and the non-functional requirements. Then we will move on to the API design and core entities. Next we will have the high level design in place, and after that at last we will have a deep dive section. Now gathering requirements. So this is about functional requirements, specifically actions that the system should perform. So functional requirement is the action that a user should be able to perform. Ask this question to yourself. What can users do? Example is, for designing something like Twitter, it would be, I have given here two examples of functional requirement, that user should be able to post tweet and the user should be able to follow other users. Gathering requirements. So now we will come on to the non-functional requirements. Think of things like scalability, availability and performance. Scalability is how the system will respond to the load, increase in load, how all those things you will keep intact in the system. Availability, what happens if a service crashes. So single point of failures, if one of the node or one of the service goes down, how will your design be impacted? Do you have any single point of failure which can crash the entire system? Do you have any database or anything in between where the system can crash? Next up is performance, making the system low latency. So there can be performance requirements like making the system respond in 50 milliseconds or something like that. That depends upon to cut that part. That depends upon the system design question that you have at hand. Example here would be something like response time to fetch feed should be less than 200 ms. So this is, I'm talking about the Twitter system design. Now at this point, a lot of people tries to do resource estimation. I don't see a point doing resource estimation right here because it's like wasting time, and if you don't have a very solid reason to do resource estimation, I would say skip it. Maybe later in the system, when you are trying to scale something, you want to scale a DB or a service, then you can do resource estimation of that particular service rather than going all out and throwing out numbers like 10 billion users are using your service with 100 billion requests. That doesn't provide any value to the interviewer. You are just doing basic maths there and showing off your math skill, which the interviewer don't need. API design and core entities. This is a very important part. So the APIs are generally one-to-one mapping to your functional requirements. Keep meaningful endpoint names with correct type. So get, put, post, and the name of your endpoints should be very descriptive, should follow the REST API design standards. Keep pagination and versioning always in your mind. So API would look something like this: post API / tweet / v1 / tweet. So v1 here is the versioning that we have. So this v1 is the versioning and / tweet is the endpoint. So / API, a lot of APIs that I do, I start with / API and then do a version and then the actual semantic meaning of that particular endpoint. So this is a post endpoint. The request is something like the tweet. So this is a tweet, and response can be 201 status code, which means created. Do keep in mind that you should know some of the status codes which are very frequently used, like 201, 401, 504, what it means, and probably some redirection codes like 301, 302 in case of if you are designing a system like Bitly or a URL Shortener. In that case, you should know some basic frequently used status codes. Next is the API design and core entities we are continuing with. So here we will talk more about the core entities part. Core entities represent what data exists and how it's structured. So what all entities you have in the system, how they interact with each other is your core entities part. This will evolve as you design the APIs. In the next section, which is high level design, where you will be laying out a simple design, there I think is the best way to develop your core entities. Like, keep it simple, whatever comes to your mind, jot it down, tell the interviewer that, hey, these are the entities that I am thinking about right now. These are the entities attributes that I'm thinking right now, but these are subject to change as I further move into the design. So I will be coming back to this section. Example would be, in case of Twitter, it will be an entity can be a user and a tweet. High level design. So components of the system and how they interact, how different services or how you are interacting with the database and all those things come under your high level design. Here you will show the data flow, how the user is making the request, how they are getting the data from the database, what all services are involved, how those services are interacting with each other. Cover each functional requirement. So generally how I do this part of design is I start with the first functional requirement, make a simple design, move to the next one, make a simple design for that, and keep on doing that until you have a pretty functional and a piece of system that could work. It won't be highly scalable, low latency, high available system at the beginning, but still it will be a system that is working, right? So here you want to get a working system as quick as possible. You have to keep the system very simple in this part of the interview. You shouldn't spend a lot of time deep diving into something right now. That will come in the next section. So this is a simple design that you can see. The user is making a request to the API gateway. There's a tweet service, tweet database where they might be posting the tweet or getting the tweet from. There's a feed service over here. So you have the tweets DB and follow DB that the feed service is interacting with to create the feed and provide it to the user. There is a follow service, and this is a very simple design, and that is the goal at this point in the interview, that you should have a simple design at hand. Now the next and the most important section is the deep dives. This is the meat of your interview. You have to here fulfill all your non-functional requirements that you listed at the start of the interview, where you had a chat with the interviewer and decided that, hey, these are the non-functional requirements for this system that I think would be the most important ones that we should focus on. You come to an agreement with your interviewer in that case. Then you have to identify parts of the system which can create problem and propose a solution for that. So you have to identify single point of failures, what are your performance bottlenecks, and where you can have scale, like using maybe Kafka, you use message queues, you may be using some other technology, you may be using caches to reduce the latency, how you will invalidate the cache, and like this part of the system is very dense. All of your so this is like a make or break section. If the interviewer is impressed in this section, he will definitely let you give a thumbs up for the next interview round, and if you screw this one up, it's over, I think. This is an open-ended part of the design interview. So what I would recommend you should do is you should have a chat with your interviewer. You should communicate that, hey, I think that these part of the system are the bottleneck, or these part of the system are the problems that we have, which will be most important to solve. So you have to propose some areas where you will be improving your design, discuss them with your interviewer. Maybe they don't want to focus on that section, they want to focus on something else. So in case of Twitter, it would be like, for Twitter, the interviewer might focus on how you can serve the feed in under 200 ms. So that is a great problem to solve. That shows, so you might be doing fan out, how you handle the scalability problem there. That is the mentality here of